So once you have your reference photo that has been submitted and printed, you're going to grab a couple things. One is going to be the reference photo itself. You'll grab the final paper from up at the front counter, pencil, and then either one of the nicer rulers at my desk. You can also grab one of the longer 18-inch rulers on the side counter. You could also grab a yardstick as well too. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start off by gridding just the reference photo first. So you'll grab your reference photo, a ruler, and then you're going to start with either a pencil, or I have some white pens if your background's really dark. As you mark off, we're going to do a 1-inch grid on the reference. Make sure that you are using those lines that are next to the numbers. Don't just kind of do a general underneath. We do want this grid to be as exact as possible. You're going to mark every inch. For the shorter sides, you're just going to mark at 1 through 4, and then the longer side will be 1 through 6. So just take your time on this. Make sure that that end of the ruler is lined up, the other measurement on the other side is lined up, and that you're taking that time to kind of double check your measurements, make sure that those are as accurate as possible. And then once you have those initial dots on each side, then what we're going to do is connect those to ensure that they are parallel with the sides, and to make sure that those are nice and even and that our measurement is as exact as possible. So you'll do this from that top to bottom, and then you're going to switch over and do side to side as well. And then same thing, just take your time, make sure that your measurements are lining up, the end of your ruler, and then either that 7 or 5 is lined up. And then you're just going to go over once again, making the secondary lines. It's going to create that grid where you have those squares all together. And then from there, we're going to switch over to the final paper. The process for this is going to be pretty much the exact same thing. Instead of doing a 1-inch grid, we're going to do a 2-inch grid. So we are doing a bit of an enlargement. With this, instead of doing that 1 inch, you're going to do 2 inches. So you're just going to mark at every 2 inches. And then same process, just making sure end of your ruler is lined up. You're going through marking those on each end, and then connecting those together to create first that set of lines, and then to create the grid itself. And then once you have your reference photo and final paper all gridded, you can return those rulers, yardsticks. You can also return those white pens. And then what we're going to start to do is work through our outline. So kind of similar to the sheet that we did earlier, you're thinking of just working solely square by square. As you work through, I would say kind of pick the corner that you feel like you're most comfortable with. Otherwise, if you feel like you have a tendency to kind of smudge your drawing quite a bit, I would say start opposite your handedness. So I'm left-handed, so I'm going to start on the right side. If you are right-handed, start from that left side, and it'll minimize some of that smudging. Otherwise, similar to how we did that grid drawing sheet, you're thinking kind of same thing, starting with your edges, getting kind of those markers of where things are intersecting with the grid itself. And then once you have kind of those initial place markers, then going in and developing the individual box. So kind of keep in mind you're just working on these initially square by square. You're not drawing the whole picture, you're just looking at what you're seeing in that one square at a time. This is going to help with that overall accuracy. So do avoid that temptation of working on the whole picture all at once. Make sure that you are just working square by square. So do take your time on this. Just kind of go through, make sure that you're working square by square, your measurements are accurate, but pretty simple once you get started. But you should be good to go. Holler if you have questions.